plan my outfits for tournaments well in advance just because I like to know what I'm wearing. And I'm getting my nails done. This is not my US Open manicure, but there'll be something different to my. Two things. I think as growing up, I think I just realized that, the only expectations that matter are the ones you put on yourself. And then also I think just, the more people say you can. I guess you just got to realize that most of the internet coaches never coached anyone at my level and never played. So it's one of those things.
COCO'S catastrophic collapse. Australian Open chaos as Gauff destroys Racquet, exposes racist fans, and drops Trump bombshell in leaked footage. What's up, Chatterbox fam? And welcome back to the channel where we bring you the juiciest, most explosive stories in sports that the mainstream media is too scared to touch. If this is your first time here, buckle up, because today we're diving into absolute mayhem. We're talking about a complete and utter meltdown that has rocked the tennis world to its core and sent shockwaves rippling across social media, news networks, and even into the political arena. I'm talking about Coco Gauff, America's golden girl, the face of women's tennis, the athlete who was supposed to dominate this Australian Open, and instead she's walking away from Melbourne with a shattered racket, a broken heart, and accusations that will make your jaw drop to the floor. Before we get into the absolute carnage that went down at Rod Laver Arena, let me ask you this. Have you ever had one of those days where everything that could possibly go wrong does go wrong? Where the universe seems to be conspiring against you and you just want to scream into the void? Well, imagine having that day broadcast to millions of people around the world. Imagine your worst moment, your most vulnerable breakdown, captured on camera and turned into a viral sensation while keyboard warriors dissect every second of your pain. That's exactly what happened to Coco Gauff, and trust me when I tell you, this story has layers upon layers that go way deeper than just a bad tennis match. We've got leaked footage from areas where cameras shouldn't even be allowed. We've got allegations of disgusting racist abuse hurled from the stands. We've got fellow tennis stars coming to Coco's defense and calling out the invasion of privacy. We've got comparisons to animals in a zoo. We've got political commentary about living under the Trump administration that's got half the internet applauding and the other half losing their minds. And we've got one very important question that everyone needs to answer. Where do we draw the line? When does our insatiable hunger for content, for access, for drama, cross over into something deeply unethical? Let me paint you the picture of how this whole disaster unfolded, because it reads like a Hollywood screenplay, except it's real life and the consequences are very, very real. It's January 2026. The Australian Open is in full swing down under in Melbourne. The energy is electric. The stakes are massive. We're in the quarterfinals, which means only 8 women are left standing with a chance at Grand Slam glory. Among them is Coco Gauff, the 21-year-old American phenom who has been tearing through the draw like a woman possessed. She's the world number 3. She's got a US Open title already under her belt. She's got endorsement deals with everyone from New Balance to Bose. She's on the cover of magazines. She's the future of American tennis, and everyone knows it. The pressure on her shoulders? Absolutely astronomical. On the other side of the net stands Elina Svitolina, the Ukrainian warrior who plays every single match like it's not just for herself, but for her entire war-torn country. Svitolina is tough as nails, experienced, and she's got that look in her eyes. You know the one. The look that says she's not here to make friends or put on a show. She's here to win, and she'll go through anyone to do it. On paper, this match was supposed to be competitive. A back-and-forth battle. Maybe 3 sets. Maybe some drama. Maybe some incredible rallies that would be replayed for years to come. What we got instead was a systematic destruction. A dismantling. A beatdown of epic proportions. Svitolina came out firing on all cylinders from the very first point. Her ground strokes were painting the lines. Her movement was absolutely flawless. She was reading Gauff's serve like she had the playbook memorized. Meanwhile, Coco looked like she was moving through quicksand. Her usually lethal forehand was sailing long or catching the net. Her footwork, normally so crisp and precise, was sluggish and tentative. The first set disappeared in what felt like 15 minutes. 6-1. Svitolina was absolutely clinical, and Gauff looked shell-shocked. But here's where it gets interesting. Because even from the stands, even from the television broadcasts, people started noticing something was off. Coco wasn't just playing badly. She looked distracted, rattled. Between points, She kept glancing up into the crowd with this expression that was hard to read. Was it confusion? Was it anger? Was it hurt? Her body language screamed that something was very, very wrong, and it wasn't just the scoreline. The second set was more of the same. Svitolina was relentless, and Gauff was spiraling. By the time the match ended 6-2 in the second set, signs of a complete mental collapse. When a player of Gauff's talent is making that many errors, you know something deeper is happening. The question was, what? The handshake at the net was ice cold. Perfunctory. Svitolina was gracious but focused, already thinking about her next match. Gauff managed a tight smile, but you could see the devastation written all over her face. She quickly signed a few autographs for fans courtside, her hand visibly shaking as she scribbled her signature, and then she grabbed her bag and disappeared down the tunnel leading away from Rod Laver Arena. Now, here's what's supposed to happen next. The player goes to the locker room, takes a shower, decompresses, maybe cries a little in private, talks to their coach, and eventually faces the media in the press conference. It's a routine. It's been the same routine for decades. The tunnel, the hallways leading to the locker room, these are supposed to be sacred spaces. These are the zones where the warrior can take off the armor and just be human for a minute without the world watching. Except in 2026, there is no such thing as privacy for elite athletes anymore. Not really. Deep in the guts of the stadium, in what's called an operational area where players sometimes warm up, cool down, or just pass through, there are cameras. Lots of them. Some for security, some for broadcast purposes. And one of those cameras captured a moment that Coco Gauff never intended for anyone to see. The footage is grainy but clear enough. Coco walks into frame, alone, thinking she's finally away from prying eyes. She stops. She stands there for a moment, and you can see her chest rising and falling as she tries to control her breathing. And then it happens. She takes her tennis racket, the tool of her trade, the instrument that's supposed to bring her joy and success, and she absolutely obliterates it. She slams it into the concrete floor once, and the frame buckles. She slams it again, and you can hear the strings snapping like guitar wires. A third time, and the racket is barely recognizable, just twisted carbon fiber and broken dreams. Then she stops. She looks down at what she's done, and for a split second, the camera catches her face, and you can see the realization dawning. Even here, even in this dark corridor, she's not alone. She's never alone. Within minutes, that footage was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, sports news networks, you name it. The algorithms ate it up and spit it out to millions of eyeballs hungry for drama. The comments came flooding in like a tidal wave. Some people were sympathetic, saying every athlete has these moments and it's unfair to broadcast them. But others? Others were vicious. They called her a brat. They said she was unprofessional. They said she couldn't handle pressure. They made memes. They made jokes. They turned her pain into entertainment, and the machine just kept churning. But Coco Gauff wasn't about to stay silent. Roughly 1 hour after that video went viral, Coco posted her own video on social media, and let me tell you, this was not some carefully crafted PR statement approved by a team of handlers. This was raw emotion. This was a young woman who had been pushed to her absolute limit and was done pretending everything was fine. In the video, she's still wearing her match outfit. Her eyes are red and puffy. Her voice cracks as she speaks, and she drops a bombshell that immediately shifted the entire narrative from spoiled athlete throws tantrum to this is so much bigger than tennis. Coco Gauff accused a section of Alina Svitolina's fanbase in the stadium of directing racist abuse at her during the match. She said that people in the crowd were making comments about her race, about the color of her skin, and that it affected her ability to compete. She said she tried to block it out, tried to focus on the tennis, but that when you hear that kind of hate, when you feel that kind of targeted bigotry, it gets into your head. It breaks your concentration. It breaks your spirit. I didn't smash my racket because I lost, she said, tears streaming down her face. I smashed it because I felt unsafe. Because I felt like no matter how hard I try, no matter how good I play, there are people who will hate me just for existing. And that's exhausting. The video sent shockwaves through the sports world. Serena Williams, the greatest of all time and Coco's mentor, immediately jumped on social media to defend her. Serena posted, "Passion, caring, matters. Nothing wrong with hating to lose. Now Coco, when you want, I can show you how to demolish in one swipe, Serena style, adding a bit of humor, but making it clear she had Coco's back. The message was unmistakable. The queens of tennis were circling the wagons around one of their own. But Coco wasn't finished, because the racism in the stands was only part of what was weighing on her. In her post-match press conference, which happened shortly after her emotional video, a reporter asked her about how the current political climate in America was affecting her. Now, most athletes would dodge this question like it was a landmine. They'd give some bland answer about staying focused on their sport and not getting involved in politics. But Coco Gauff has never been most athletes. She took a deep breath and she went there. She talked about living in America during the second Trump administration. She talked about feeling fatigued by the constant negativity, the attacks on marginalized communities, the erosion of kindness and empathy in public discourse. She talked about the anxiety of being a young black woman trying to represent her country on the world stage while watching that same country slide into deeper division. I hope forward that we can have a lot more peace in our country, she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. But it is hard. It's hard to focus on hitting a tennis ball when you feel like your very existence is being debated and attacked back home. When you see people who look like you being targeted. When you see rights being rolled back. It weighs on you. It really does. The political commentary exploded across the internet. Conservative commentators accused her of being ungrateful, of being too political, of disrespecting the country that gave her opportunities. Progressive voices praised her courage and honesty. Sports analysts debated whether athletes should even be asked these questions. And through it all, Coco Gauff became the center of a cultural firestorm that went way beyond tennis. But let's zoom out for a second and talk about the bigger picture here, because this story touches on something that's been brewing in professional sports for years: the invasion of privacy. The commodification of athletes every waking moment. The idea that because these people make millions of dollars and compete on a public stage, they somehow forfeit their right to private moments of vulnerability. Jessica Pegula, one of Coco's fellow American players and a close friend, didn't mince words when asked about the leaked tunnel footage. She called it creepy. She said, "Coco wasn't wrong when she said the only private place we have is the locker room, which is crazy." Pegula went on to reveal that players have noticed cameras zooming in on their phone screens when they're in the gym. Imagine that for a second. You're sitting there texting your family or scrolling through social media, and someone is literally zooming a camera in to see what's on your screen. That's not content creation. That's surveillance. That's invasive. That's wrong. Iga Swiatek, the world number 2 and one of the most dominant players in women's tennis, took it even further with a quote that's going to be remembered for a long time. She said, "Are we tennis players, or are we animals in the zoo?" Let that sink in. Animals in the zoo. She went on to elaborate that just like zoo animals are watched when they eat, when they sleep, when they do literally anything, tennis players are now under that same level of constant observation. They watch us when we stretch, when we eat, probably even when we use the bathroom if they could, Swiatek said with obvious frustration. The message was clear. This has gone too far. Novak Djokovic, never one to shy away from controversy or difficult conversations, also weighed in on the debate. Djokovic said that while he understands the frustration, the reality is that we live in a content-driven society. It's sad that you can't release your frustration without becoming a meme, he said. But the cameras aren't going away. The demand for content is only increasing. Players need to understand that and find ways to cope with it, even though it's not fair. And that's the heart of the issue, isn't it? Fairness. Tennis Australia released a corporate statement that basically said they're trying to strike a balance between giving fans access and protecting player privacy. They pointed out all the amenities they provide, like quiet rooms, sleep rooms, beauty rooms, meditation spaces. But as Amanda Anisimova bluntly pointed out, she didn't have a say in that video being posted. That's the bottom line. Coco Gauff didn't consent to having her lowest moment broadcast to the world. She thought she was in a private space. She was wrong. And now she's dealing with the consequences of a system that prioritizes clicks and views over human dignity. Here's what really gets me about this whole situation. We, the fans, the viewers, the consumers of sports content, we are complicit in this. Every time we click on a video titled "Player Loses It," every time we share a meme of an athlete crying, every time we demand more access, more behind-the-scenes footage, more reality show-style drama. We are feeding this machine. We are telling the broadcasters and the tournament organizers and the content creators that this is what we want. And then we act shocked when athletes push back and say enough is enough. Coco Gauff is 21 years old. She's barely an adult. She's living her life under a microscope that most of us can't even imagine. Every mistake she makes is analyzed by millions. Every word she says is dissected. Every emotion she shows is weaponized. And on top of all that, she's dealing with racism, both subtle and overt. She's dealing with the political turmoil of living in a divided America. She's dealing with the crushing weight of expectations from sponsors, fans, her country, and herself. Is it any wonder she broke? Is it any wonder she needed to smash a racket and let out some of that pressure? In her Instagram post the day after the match, Coco wrote something that really stuck with me. She said, "I'm a real person with real feelings. I care a lot, and I'm trying my best. Thank you to those who understand that." She added a heart emoji, which might seem small, but to me it represents something bigger. It's a reminder that behind the Nike endorsements and the Grand Slam trophies and the social media following, there's a human being, a young woman trying to navigate an impossibly difficult path with grace and dignity, and sometimes failing, because that's what humans do. Now, let's talk about what happens next, because the story doesn't end with Coco leaving Melbourne. Alina Svitolina has advanced to the semifinals where she'll face Aryna Sabalenka in what promises to be an absolute war. Svitolina has yet to comment on the allegations about her fans' behavior, and it'll be interesting to see if she addresses it. Meanwhile, the tennis world is having a long overdue conversation about racism in the sport, about mental health, about privacy, and about the toll that modern fame takes on athletes. Coco Gauff is flying home. The Australian Open is over for her. But her voice, her courage to speak up about uncomfortable truths, that's only getting louder. She's forced us to have conversations we've been avoiding. About how we treat black athletes differently. About how much we expect them to endure silently. About whether it's acceptable to film someone's private moments and turn them into entertainment. About whether our obsession with content has gone too far. There are no easy answers to these questions, but they need to be asked. And Coco Gauff, whether she wanted to or not, has become the face of this movement. She asked a simple question after that match. What did I do wrong? And the more you look at the situation, the more you realize the answer might be nothing. Maybe she did nothing wrong. Maybe the system is what's broken. Maybe we're the ones who need to change. So here's where I want to hear from you, because this isn't just about tennis. This is about how we consume sports, how we treat athletes, and what kind of society we want to be. Do you think Coco Gauff has a right to be angry about the cameras in the tunnel? Or do you think that when you're a professional athlete making millions of dollars, you give up certain expectations of privacy? Do you believe her allegations about racist abuse from fans in the stands? Do you think tournaments are doing enough to protect players from that kind of hate? And what about her comments on the political climate in America? Do you think athletes should speak out on these issues, or should they stick to sports? Does the anxiety of living through turbulent political times affect how athletes perform? These are complicated questions without simple answers, and I genuinely want to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation about this. Let's make the comment section the best part of the Chatterbox community. And listen, if this video got you thinking, if it made you feel something, if it made you see this situation differently than you did before, do me a favor. Smash that like button, and I mean smash it harder than Coco smashed that racket in the tunnel. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss another Chatterbox deep dive into the stories that matter. And absolutely crush that notification bell because trust me, in the world of sports, the drama never stops, and we're going to be here to break it all down for you with no filter and no holds barred. Before you go, check out the videos popping up on your screen right now. We've got a compilation of the top 10 most intense tennis meltdowns in history that'll blow your mind. We've also got a tribute to Coco Gauff's greatest moments on court, because even though this Australian Open ended in heartbreak, this young woman is still one of the most talented and inspiring athletes in the world, and her story is far from over. Thank you so much for watching Chatterbox. I'm your host, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep your eyes on the ball, keep questioning the system, and remember that athletes are human beings first and entertainers second. Peace out, Chatterbox fam.